13 of 23 as Lucas White continues.
That's a big-time player making a big-time play. Darren Lucas White.
Welcome to the CSRA Sports Rap Podcast. I'm the Mac Daddy, Charles McNeil.
And I'm Chad Cook. Charles, I'm thrilled to be with you. Let's get this thing started.
Yes, sir. It's episode 1, season 1, and we couldn't be happier to be with you. The reason we're doing this is because Chad and I have a great passion for sports. I've been in the game since 1985. I've covered 16 state champions in basketball. I've done over 3 state championships in football. I've been around this thing for a long, long time, from DC to North Carolina to now Georgia for nearly 30 years. And God has blessed me to be around and to do this. And I'm happy to work with my buddy, Chad. He and I have had a relationship of over 20 years. Chad, I mean, I'm excited about this, and I know you are as well. But I got to ask you, when you got into this whole sports casting thing and blogging and everything else you did, you know, what were kind of some of your motivations? And tell the audience what they can expect each week.
Okay, so when I was a kid, I didn't know that I liked to do this stuff. But when I was a kid, as you know, I liked to play sports and basketball in particular.
And you're good at it.
Thank you. And so every Wednesday morning, Saturday morning, and Sunday morning, the first thing I would do was dig through the newspaper, all the box scores, who scored what the game stories were, you know, all the way to like college and NBA and all that. So I had that in my background. And then I can remember, you know, here we are with these microphones I'm looking like a pro. You've been a pro all your life. And I used to listen to like Ashley Brown and Tony Cornish and Charles McNeil and Sam Crenshaw, and, you know, watch him on TV, watch you on TV, listen to Ashley and Tony and those guys on the radio. And, you know, I'd drive around and probably take detours to keep listening. And I really didn't know, even through all that I would actually want to do that. But, you know, the internet came around, blogging, social media, the ability to edit video. And next thing you know, I've got 10 years of experience imitating journalists.
Yeah. And you've been doing a wonderful job. Thousands upon thousands of people hang on your every word. And also the videos that you guys and the team provide have been great insight to what's going on with our high school, our college, and even down to the middle school and JV things. I mean, you're just covering basketball and have expanded to football in recent years. Why did you do that?
Well, on the expansion or the basketball part?
Well, both.
Both, yeah. So basketball, you know, I was coaching homeschool basketball about 12 years ago. And, you know, the prospect of getting your homeschool team in the newspaper and on television and things like that with the coverage were thin to, you know, not good prospects. So I started my own blog to highlight the guys and put stories about them and video stories and stuff. So I had to learn how to do all that, and I did. And then in 2011, I want to say January of 2011, Josie and Westside were about to play a big region matchup, and I had been covering my homeschool basketball team. It's called the Augusta Eagles. We ended up being really good, by the way. So I'd been covering them like a media person would. And so Kyle Doyle played for Josie and Frank Booker played for Westside. And those are 2 guys that I knew all about because I've been, you know, involved with basketball forever. And so I got a guy to go film the game for me. I edited the footage. I put a story up. That was in January of 2011. And now it's 2021. And there's been pretty much 10 years of almost continuous coverage of basketball ever since. And then to your point, 3 or 4 years ago, football got rolled in. And this spring, we might expand it even further. So I guess that explains how I got involved with it.
Well, you've done a great job, and I know folks have found our podcast, so you're hopefully enjoying what you've heard so far. As far as our backgrounds are concerned, one thing I left out is obviously in those 35 years, I worked for BET, for ESPN. I was the play-by-play voice at Georgetown here in Augusta. I've been the voice of Augusta University a couple of times, thanks to Chad and, of course, Clint Bryant and Dip Mitras and all the other coaches, Gary Toole, that I worked with over the years, but also working side by side with Chad during the last 3 or 4 years, covering things for AUGB ball and of course being his broadcast partner alongside for the Augusta University games, which have been a great thrill the last 2 seasons. Now,
I'm sorry, and that's another reason I just want to jump in. That's another reason why we're here is because I really, really, really enjoy working with you on those Augusta University games and during the AUGB ball activities that we work together on. So that's why we took this time. You've been working all weekend, all week. So has Seth Wesley, our producer, to put this thing together, because I enjoy working with you. You must, I guess, enjoy working with me.
Very much so.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, we have a great time, and we want you to share in our passion for sports, especially right here in the CSRA and a little bit beyond by way of our players that leave the area and do great things. We're going to be following them as well. You'll see them as guests. You'll have an opportunity to talk with some folks that may not be from the area, but have a passion for sports like we do. And if we talk about the Final Four, we'll be able to pull in guys like the gentleman I worked with yesterday, Tony Delk, who says he wants to join us when we do an NCAA show. So he'll be able to give us some unique insights. 1995, 96 player that came out of Kentucky and played alongside DeMarcus Cousins and played with Antoine Walker and that crew back in the day. He's a wealth of knowledge when it comes down to basketball, has his own academy up there. So, and then of course, Marcus Burnett. We both love him from SUV TV. He's agreed to join us. He's covering games throughout the Southeast. He can give us a picture of what's going on when we get to the state playoffs. And the teams like Evans will have hopefully a deep run. He'll be able to give us insights as to some of the teams that they'll be facing, and because he's seen them firsthand. So we've got a lot coming your way. We want to make sure that you know that this is the CSRA Sports Wrap Podcast. It's episode 1, and thanks to Seth, who's making it all happen. Well, Chad, let's move into our first segment. And it's the Did I Say That segment. And for this one, I've got 3 ideas that I have to share with you. The first one is Dip Mitras. Obviously, I did the game on Wednesday, and Dip came out after the game, was a little fired up, and he said something about, he would put his team up against anybody, and they play so hard with so much passion. He called them the Wrightsboro Road Warriors. And I just had a big chuckle on that because they literally were a warrior effort. We'll get a little bit deeper into that game with your highlights coming up in just a little bit, your top 5 players, plays that you saw during the course of the week. But one of the things that are players that you saw during the week and college games that you saw the week. But before we get there, I got to also tell you about my second one. Now, my second one, I was a little bit, thinking what could be the second best thing I saw this week. Well, it was probably the play of sophomore guard by the name of Mikey Williams. I had the pleasure of doing the national telecast for Fox Sports yesterday, and it was in Saturday. I'll say that for folks that are watching beyond that. But Saturday, I got a chance to talk to Imani Bates and Mikey Williams, the #1 Gatorade National Player of the Year, and then the #3 by ESPN's ratings and #1 by Max Prep's sophomore, Mikey Williams. And after the game was over, he gave me a soundbite that you would really enjoy. What he told me, Chad, was, I said, is this personal between you two? And he looked at me and he said, it's been personal. It's been personal. So you would think kids with that kind of stature, YouTube sensations, Mikey jumps out of the building, can shoot it from as soon as he crosses the timeline and knocks stuff down. He has 77 points in a high school game, setting a California record at the time. This young man is just a phenomenal athlete. And then Imani Bates had a face injury. He made one of those dramatic entries. I wish we had the sound for that as well, because when he walked onto the court, you'd have thought the president had just arrived. It was amazing. And then my number one play is a special one. Let's take a watch.
Willis unable to finish on the spin. Here comes Darren Lucas White, who finds Tyree. And that's cash. Tyree Myers, coming off that 34-point explosion, has 5 early here today.
Cash money.
Yeah, you said it, Chad. And I'm wondering if that's going to affect Tyree Myers' eligibility, man. But on a serious tip, we know it's not. You didn't mean it in that vein. But that guy has been cash money, knocking down shots repeatedly. What a week that kid had.
Yeah, Tyree is, you mentioned Dip calling the team the Wrightsboro Road Warriors, and there's no bigger warrior than Tyree Myers, a junior point guard from Augusta. First 2 seasons with the keys to the car, he led Augusta to a 49-14 record, a Peach Belt championship and a Peach Belt tournament championship his freshman season playing point guard. And this week, with down to 8 players, then 7, eventually 6, he had to score the basketball, something that hasn't been his role in these first 2+ seasons. And he responded with 34 points against Francis Marion in a win. And then yesterday, Saturday, he had 20 points in a loss. But, there's in my opinion, no such thing as a loss when it comes to Augusta University right now, playing with 8 players, missing 5 guys because of COVID complications for the rest of the season, and still managing at this point to post a 6-4 overall record, a 4-4 Peach Belt Conference record. The warrior attitude in Tyree and in that group led by Coach Dip Mitras, who is hunting that 500th victory, number 15 among active Division II coaches in career wins. That warrior mentality is alive and well on Wrightsboro Road, and I couldn't be more proud of those guys.
Yeah, and Dip as well, because you mentioned the fact in the broadcast, I heard you say that, Dip is amongst those 26 coaches, or the 26 coaches that have achieved that honor. All but a handful of them have done it. There's nobody that's done it as quick as he would do it in 25 years of service. They've all been 26 or better.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways that the record books keep track of these things, winning percentage, total wins. And then they have the real key thing in there that they tell you is how long they've been doing it. So in total wins, Dip Mitras is number 15 among active NCAA Division II coaches. Now there's 200 programs. So out of the 200 programs, active coaches, he's number 15. But the real key is everybody ahead of him, 14 through 1, have more years under their belt. Some of them many more years under their belt, right. But all of them have at least 26, 28, 30 years. Dip's down there at 23. He's a young man. Dip started coaching in his 20s. And so he's won 68% of his games. He's taken Augusta to 10 NCAA tournaments in 14 seasons. And so if you imagine being number 15 and having less years than everybody, every year he's going to creep up on those guys. And, when it's all said and done, he might be, I don't know if he'll be at the top. There's a guy with 1,000 wins. Dip will have to do it for, I guess, another 20 some years. I don't know if he has that in him, but I wouldn't doubt him. That's the warrior mentality that our guy has. And he's creeping up that list steadily and quickly.
That is the Did I See That segment? Did I see that? Well, we'll have that for you each week. Chad will give you his best things that he heard, and I will do the same. And when we have the opportunity to bring you the live sound, we'll do that as we did with Chad's piece right there. Let's turn our attention now for our second segment, which is Courtside View. And Courtside View is the best things that we saw, the best games that we saw this week. Chad, take it away.
Well, I've got a long list, so you're going to have to play the role of shutting me up if I go too long. But in the upset of the year, when it comes to what we expected to see and what we expected to call like a great game, Augusta Prep versus Gatewood. It was a 3 p.m. game last Saturday. We sent Seth to stream it live and cover it, and it was an amazing game. Augusta Prep, a small private school. Quite honestly, you just don't have the impression that they're going to be, the most exciting basketball you've seen. But after the game, when I summarized the action, I said that was the most exciting and well-played game that we've witnessed this season. I surveyed Seth. He agreed with me. It was a great game. The score was in the 80s. Teams would get up 3 or 4 possessions, and no lead was safe because of the 3-point barrage from both sides. Ben Monig for Augusta Prep, a junior, scored 34 points. He's a 6'2" guy. He's dynamite. Nobody knows about him, at least the circles I run in. Guys don't talk about Ben Monig, but he's an excellent player. He had 34 points. I'm trying to find. Okay, Ryan Javahari and Devin Newman each had 15. Devin Newman's a sophomore. He's got a lot of game. He does a lot of cool stuff out there, and he had 15. Javahari's a sharpshooter, had 5 threes, 15 points as well. And then on the other side, Jackson Morris. Gatewood was undefeated in region play coming in. Jackson Morris scored 26 points. He had 6 threes. Augusta Prep came away with the win. They upset Gatewood. Got back into that region race. And it was just, like I said, one of the most well-played games. If I have time, I'll go on.
Go right ahead.
Okay. So another upset, Hancock Central versus Warren County, single A public ball. As you know, Charles, you know, we work together on a lot of this stuff. We're usually Laney, Josie, Evans, Grovetown, Cross Creek, Hepzibah, you know, the big public school rivalries, Aiken, South Aiken, North Augusta, Aiken. Well, the two games I flagged here, you know, got a private school game now, a single A public. Hancock Central beat Warren County 63-60. We streamed that game too. I was glued to it because there's a player on each team that is as good as anybody around. And again, people don't really talk about them because they're from small schools, the outskirts. And so Hancock Central and Sparta, Georgia, home of Horace and Harvey Grant, if I'm not mistaken. So in our younger viewers and listeners are saying,
I have no idea
who's that. But anyway, those are some big timers. But
they play with Dr. J, let's put it that way.
Right, and Michael
Charles
Jordan.
Barkley. Charles Barkley.
Shaq.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Hancock Central is led by Jamal Taylor, and he's awesome. He's a left-handed point guard. He's as good as they get. He's as good as any point guard we have around here, as good as any player we have around here. And Jamal Taylor, and his name rings out statewide, but here they're just a little bit outside of our area. So, you know, we don't hear his name much, but he was excellent. He had 23 points. He's just picking apart the full court press of Warren County, and they get out to this huge lead. He's assisting guys on threes. He's getting to the bucket. They get out to a huge lead. Here comes Lorenzo Johnson Jr. and Warren County. Lorenzo Johnson Jr. is a guy we covered when Warren County upset Thompson at Thompson in a very newsworthy game for other reasons. But Lorenzo Johnson had 25 in the game. He's excellent as well. He's a 6'2" shooting guard, a junior. And, you know, those guys go back and forth. By the end of it, it's a 63-60 game. Hancock Central, by the way, defending single A public state champs. Jamal Taylor hit the game-winning shot in the state championship game. So in certain circles, it's well known how good these teams are and how exciting a battle like that is. And honestly, one of the coolest things in, I guess, the month of January for me was to bring that action, that Augusta Prep Gatewood action, and that Hancock Central Warren County action into the AUGB ball sphere, because it's as exciting as all the larger public school stuff that we follow.
Without a doubt, we've got to definitely shine on the it's the CSRA Sports Wrap podcast, so we got to talk about the entire CSRA, not just Richmond County, Columbia County, and McDuffie and Burke County. We got to stretch our wings a little bit and cover some of the smaller schools and some of the outlying schools as well, and we will do that each and every week. So we encourage you guys on augball.org or also on the Facebook page. Make sure you mention and converse with us. Let us know exactly, you know, what your thoughts are, what your feelings are, and how you can interact with us, who we should be covering. Let us know who we should be covering. Let us know the stories that matter to you. And we will try to get our team out there to showcase those and get some sound from the players and coaches before and after games to let folks know tickets are still available. And we want to get out and support you on your road to the Final Four. All right, let's move to mine. And I actually did this in reverse order to show you. So this is the first show, and it's growing, and we're growing together in our chemistry, Chad. My favorite games, my courtside view, comes from yesterday's game again. I'll mention it to you. Fortunate enough to do national television for the first time in the upstate since 1993. And when I worked for WLOS at that time, I covered, you know, Clemson, and I covered Carolina, meaning North Carolina and South Carolina, covered even out to Atlanta. And but the most, you know, our area of focus was high school basketball in that in the mountains. And, you know, with the likes of schools that produced Brad Doherty and, you know, many other players that have come through that area. Asheville High School being a big one. The year I was up there, we 32-0, big season for those kids. They won the state championship, obviously. But what I saw yesterday was two of the elite players, and Imani Bates really stood out for me as one of us. One of the guys that we're going to be watching at the next level at Michigan State. He's committed already as a junior. And then add to that, getting a chance to watch later or earlier in the week, I got a chance to see Millette Green and her AU girls or women win in dramatic fashion as they took out Francis Marion. I had the call of that one as well. So I had two great games that I was actually courtside at, had a chance to see. And, you know, after 60 days of being, you know, 50 days of being off and over 60 days before, since their last victory, 2 months, they were able to come away with a victory, and not just one, but two in a single week. So with a game coming up on Monday, we wish them nothing but the best. So that is our courtside view. Any thoughts there, Chad?
Well, I won't say you're underselling, but I just want to shine that light back on yesterday. Ypsi Prep and Lake Norman Christian. Ypsi Prep didn't exist before this year. Lake Norman Christian existed in a completely different form than we see this year. The two people that catapulted those two schools, or whatever you want to call them, into the spotlight nationally are Imani Bates, the #1 high school player by most people's judgment in the nation, and Mikey Williams, who has 2.5 million Instagram followers, who just has captivated teenagers everywhere. Those two guys playing against each other on Fox, the Fox Sports app. You on the call with Tony Delk, a longtime NBA veteran, just an electric atmosphere. I watched the first quarter, was available quickly on YouTube. So my son and I watched that last night. My son wouldn't dare miss Imani versus Mikey. Yeah. And they go out there, and Mikey's a ball player. He's much better than I thought he was. And Imani, man, the second he comes on there, all I see is Kevin Durant in my eyes. I see a 6'11". My son says he's skinny. I was like, Jack, my son's name's Jack. You're 5'9". Imagine you were 6'11" and put the weight that you have into that frame. You're going to be skinny at 16 years old at 6'11", but just moves and shoots and dribbles just like Kevin Durant. It's uncanny. The way he releases the ball, the way he goes on the attack, and the offense just changes when he gets in the game, because it's like, hey, give Imani the ball and he'll score. And it's amazing to watch him. The atmosphere was amazing. If it weren't for COVID, I can't even imagine how full that place would have been. So that was it was a joy to see you be a part of that action. And, I guess they call it burying the lead in the business. We might have buried the lead here, because that thing was off the rails as far as excitement goes. And I'm glad you were a part of it.
Well, I'd want to thank you, Chad, as well, for your recommendation of me to get that opportunity. It meant a lot that you thought enough of me to give me that shot at getting back out there. As I said, it has been a long, long time coming for me to get back on the national stage, and it felt really good. I've obviously thoroughly enjoyed the Augusta University chances that I've had with Clint and Dip and yourself, trusting in me to handle that ship. And of course, what Perry Broadcasting gives me the opportunity to do with Laney over the last 8 years, covering multiple state championships. But yes, that was a whole nother level. And working with Tony Delk, not as good as you as an analyst. I'll say that.
I love it.
I can't say it when Tony comes on. But, no, I'm kidding. But no, seriously, working with you, you're as detailed and I guess you're a consummate professional when it comes down to the things that you're passionate about. And you're really passionate about Augusta University. You're an alum, a proud alum, and you wear that on your chest and sleeve and everywhere else. And so I think that shows in our broadcast, and I get tons of positive feedback whenever we do games. So I'm very, very happy to have had that. And as I said, large part to you. And then what I've seen in just the less than 24 hours, far less than 24 hours since this game took place, is my phone has been blowing up. I mean, just text messages out the wazoo, people I hadn't talked to in years, that maybe followed me when I was on BET or followed me when I was doing things at the Masters and things like that, are reaching out to connect. So definitely thoroughly enjoyed that. And again, hopefully bigger things are to come for both of us. All right, let's keep things moving. Yeah, keep things moving. We're winding down on time. We've got 7 minutes left in our show, and we want to get to our starting five. And Chad, I don't have a starting five this week, so I'm going to lean on you to give us the best starting five that exists in the CSRA on the boys' side.
And we're going Georgia side versus South Carolina side. Dream matchup, right?
That's right.
Okay, now here's the thing. I just want to say this first. Nobody's going to listen to it. I don't know if people care what I say about these things anymore, but there was a time when they did, and they would get mad if I didn't say their name, for instance. So the message I always have is, it's just a guy talking, giving his opinion. scholarships are not given out based on whether or not I put a name on the list. So hopefully we can take it all in fun. And what I will say is that on the Georgia side, the 5 best players that I have to recommend are, in no particular order, Rashad King from Evans, a 6'5" guard who's just dynamite, senior, transferred here from Alaska a little over a year ago before his junior year. 2 guys from Grovetown, Julius Brown and Zach Bell. Zach Bell is Mr. Excitement, the most exciting athlete that, just as you're not going to get more exciting than that. Julius Brown got ice water in his veins, can really score the ball, shoot it. Just a rock of a player for Grovetown. And then a couple guys from Cross Creek, Corey Trotter. I call him the most consistent producer over these last 2 seasons. He's going to Miles College, 6'5", inside out guy, kind of a stretch 4, stretch 5 type of guy at the high school, probably college level as well. And Richard Visitation, a real quick, just smart point guard. And then, Cross Creek also has a 3rd guy, Devin Pope, who might be, maybe I could interchange him in the middle of that, but I didn't for this purpose. And then I'll have a 6th man. I don't know Jamal Taylor as well as I know those other guys, Jamal Taylor from Hancock Central, but after watching him against Warren County and reading about him now for a couple of years, I got to give him that 6th man role. He's as good as they get. When you put him versus Richard Visitation and Julius Brown, I think it's kind of a toss-up. So that's why I got to throw him in there. And then on the South Carolina side, RJ Felton, so exciting. He had caught a lob with one hand this week that just, kind of blew up on the internet. It was such an exciting play. He's going to East Carolina. Colin Rodriguez from North Augusta, kind of as athletic and exciting as Zach Bell, probably. He's a Division I player or a Peach Belt type, big time Division II type player in the future. There is Jonathan Burns, who just signed with football out of South Aiken, just signed to go play football at Gardner Webb. He's exciting. He had a tip dunk the other night against Aiken that kind of blew up and made everybody very excited for good reason. And then Avery Spurlock from Wardlaw, scoring machine. And Donovan Hodge out of South Aiken. South Aiken's had a good season, and Donovan Hodge, he's been producing at least since his sophomore year when I first saw him play, and he's had a good season here. And the 6th man is AJ Swedenberg out of Wagner Sally, a little tiny school. They've got about 200 students over there. And Jordan Stringer well, Charles McNeil. And I'm sorry, I said your full name because I see it on the screen. It's kind of weird, Chad Cook, Charles McNeil. But anyway, Jordan Stringer out of Laney, I've always called him the best athlete in the area because of his prolific football and basketball production. But AJ Swedenberg is right there with him, as good as they come on the football field, and a real exciting basketball player as well. So he's my 6th man. I don't know enough about his basketball game to really put him in that top 5, but I know I've seen him enough to know he's an exciting, very, very good player. And with his football production and just the overall flair of Swedenberg, exciting play of Swedenberg in all sports, I got to throw him in there. So that's my top 5 plus a 6th man on both sides of the river.
This is the CSRA Sports Wrap Podcast. As we wrap up our first edition, a good group of folks you had in my starting 5, Chad. I'm going to give you my starting 5 next week because I don't agree with any of that. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, good.
No. There were some really good choices there, and some well-deserved young men getting some shine. But what I want you to do more than anything, ladies and gentlemen, is please take the time and react to what you saw. Chad's starting 5 on both sides, his starting 5, and we want to get your starting 5 in Georgia and South Carolina. Go to AUG B-Ball on Facebook and let us know what you thought about that. And Ronnie Striggles is one I know is going to be in my starting 5. And next week, I'm going to pose to you, Chad, that we do the best diaper dandies. So freshmen and sophomores in those classes, not just Georgia and South Carolina. We're going to limit it to just one group of 5. And
I'm ready.
Your 5 against my 5. So we'll do that in one of our segments as we wrapped up that particular portion of the show. Well, we're come to the end of our program. Hope you enjoyed it. Did you, Chad?
Oh, of course I did. Anytime we get together, and I'll be ready next week. If you're really wanting to argue about these starting fives, what you'll do, go get all the players and their parents who I didn't list, get their input, and then
That's what I'm waiting for.
It's an attack. It'll be
Yeah.
an attack. You can enlist the forces around me, and I won't stand a chance.
You know my strategy already, man. I'm waiting for those comments. So definitely chime in and help the Mac Daddy out a little bit because I don't get a chance to see a lot of South Carolina basketball other than, of course, what I follow with the great coverage on AUGB ball. And I encourage you to do that as well. Like, subscribe, and share this podcast with everybody you know. It's available wherever you find podcasts. If you're listening just to the audio version, we've got a vlog version of it as well, a video version. So we want you to chime in. That way you can see the highlights to go along with the sounds that you hear from both of us. I know we've made a few mistakes, but we had a great time, and we hope that you did as well. So for Chad Cook, I'm Charles McNeil, for Seth Wesley, and everybody associated with the CSRA Sports Wrap podcast. Good afternoon, good night, and God bless. We'll check you out next time. Take care, everyone.
13 of 23 as Lucas White